Hey guys, past Chanel here to pull the two books for this mood reading vlog that I normally do. So I'm going to start with the tarot prompt picker. So today I'm using the Mythos Tarot, which is a deck with Greek gods who basically look like real life models, and it's even an Angelina Jolie lookalike in here. We'll see if we get her, but let's do a shuffle and see what the prompt is going to be for one of the books. Okay, got a bit of a spunk here. So we've got the Ace of Coins, and the prompt for this one is pick the most recent addition to your TBR. I don't even know what that is. Hopefully it's something that's out. If it isn't, I'll just have to go down the list. But let's say I should know, because I did add a whole bunch of books yesterday, but that was yesterday. So let's have a look. What is the most recent addition to my want to read list? So let's date added. Fuck. Guess what this bitch added at midnight last night? Yeah. The Trouble with Peace, the second book in the Age of Madness series by Joe McGravy. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. That is the most recent edition. Okay, I'm going to do a backup option in case I do end up DNFing that book, because if you saw my mood reading vlog for it, you'll know that I was kind of a little bit salty about how the romances developed in it, and I wasn't sure if I could get on board with the new rejigging of them. So just in case I don't end up finishing that book, the next book that I added most recently to my TBR was Mickey 7 by Ed Wood Ashton. And I added this because I saw the trailer for the movie, which features Robert Pattinson, and it looked good. And I thought I should go see this. And then that night I had a sex dream with Robert Pattinson. Now, I have never been into Robert Pattinson, maybe for a second as Cedric Diggory, but my heart was with young Tom Riddle. Okay, that's who I was into. So I've never really been on the Pattinson train. Even in Twilight, I liked Jasper more. And then on the second rewatch, I liked Daddy Carlisle more. So I was shocked. I'm like, hello, Robert. And I don't know if it's like this with you guys. If you have a steamy dream with someone that you previously never really found attractive, does it also completely change your opinion of them after it? Because now I'm like, do I find Robert hot now? I guess I do. So I went and added the books because I thought I want to read the book before I see the film. I always prefer book than film. That's the way to do it. So that would be my backup option in case a DNF. What was it called again? The Trouble with Peace. How big is that? It's over 500 pages. Thought it was. Anyway, now we're on to the jar pick. So let's go. Could be anything. I've got one. I get so nervous every time I do it. Every single time. Even though they're books I want to read. I'm not looking, and now I am. Song of the Beast by Carol Berg by Monty Adkins. Monty's got so many fucking recommendations in here. I think Monty and Zach are the majority of this jar. Let's look that up because I don't remember it at all. It's not the one that he wants me to read. I think the one he wants me to read the most is something of Albadone. I can't remember, but Monty, this is the one we got. Song of the Beast. Is this another fantasy? Oh, it's going to be fantasy heavy. Song of the Beast by Carol Berg is the first in a series, and it is an epic fantasy with dragons and a former musician. And this one is pretty much 500 pages too. I've got some chunky beasts on my TBR thus far. We'll see what else future Chanel decides to pick up and mood read. I'm going to guess it's going to be a short book in there. For sure. But most likely it'll be one of the books from the library that's come in, because you gotta read those fast. I see a lot of Americans just hold on to books or just, and I'm like, are you just racking up overdue fines, or can you just keep renewing them? Because in Australia, you have 3 weeks. And if there is a reservation on that book, so basically if it's a new book, someone else will be waiting in line to get it. If there's a reservation, you cannot renew it. If there isn't a reservation, you can renew it 3 times max. So you can get the book for 9 weeks, and then you have to return it to the library. You could borrow it again, but Generally, that's the gist. And if you, for instance, have a book that's overdue, once it hits 3 days overdue, your account's locked. You cannot borrow any more books. So yeah, when I get a whole bunch of a stack in, even with my fast reading, I do struggle to read them and get through them. So when you see all my book hauls, and you might remember, hey, Chanel did a book haul with that and she never read it, I had to return it. That's the way it goes. You know, sometimes I just don't get to them and they've got to go back in the cycle, and then the reservation for that might be 50 people long, and it's like, well, forget it. I'm not going to want to read it in probably 5 years time. So yes, just thought I'd say, like, if you've seen books on my library hauls and they've never seen them again, that's why I just couldn't get to it in a timely manner. But I'm going to send you back to future Chanel. I bet you thought you saw the last of me. Unfortunately, it has struck again when I originally added this to my jar. I didn't check that my library had it. My library does not have it. So I can't song ring. I'm so tired. No, I'm not alert and on it. I cannot read Song of the Beast by Carol Berg. It's not in the library, and yeah, to request them to buy it and get it in, it takes normally up to a year. That's if they approve it. Sometimes they just don't think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to read it. They won't get it. Most of the time, they only get new releases that are coming out. So, sorry, Monty, can't read that one. Let's try again. Hopefully there's not too many more of those in here, the books that I originally put in here that I did not check to see if they were in the catalogue. So, read this, and what did I get? Nightstrider by Sophia Slade from Stems and Pages. I don't remember this at all. Is this a new one? Nightstrider. Nightstrider by Sophia Slade. This looks new. Oh, no, it came out last year. This is a queer romantasy. Okay. Oh, it's about a demon's conquest, nightmares, and humans banding together in a dark fantasy series. Just give me one moment while I go and check if my library has it. If it does, you won't see me. If it doesn't, you gotta see me again. Guys, I am back to discuss the last books I read for this reading vlog. Yesterday was the suspension from YT day, for the main reason that my channel is for sexual gratification purposes. And I'm like, YT, what you do while watching my videos is none of my business. Anyway, I'm still in the appeal process. So they ask you to film a video of you pleading your case, basically, of why they shouldn't demonetize your channel and suspend it for 3 months. Yeah, so like, how about making your rules a little more clear so we know when we're actually breaking them? Anyway, we'll see how that goes. Patreon is still being reviewed, so it's not live yet, but by the time I post the PSA video, it will be. But it's just been a wild experience. So I'm going to start with probably the book that I enjoyed the least, and that was Natural Beauty by Ling Huang. So in this novel, you have a Chinese-American former pianist who has to turn to working at a flicky-dicky beauty salon to pay for both of her her parents' medical costs. At this place, there are a lot of really bizarre treatments. For instance, you can get mink fur transplants onto your coochie. So, you know, permanent merkins. That's a word I have not used in a very, very long time. And say you've had a bad Botox job. Don't worry, boo, we got you. A remora fish is going to suck that bad Botox right out of you. There are lots of experiments going on with humans, with animals, and with their own staff. And our FMC put her hand up for it. She's got bills to pay. So whilst this company's main purpose, I guess, is the quest for beauty and youth, they were also seeking their riches through other biomed avenues using unsuspecting female volunteers. The book itself touched on capitalism, beauty standards, immigration, but was mostly about body horror, and ended up going in this really wacky, weird, and disjointed direction. I honestly thought the plot was a bit all over the place. That is why I continued reading though, because I could not anticipate what this book was doing. I'm like, where are we going with this? And I found out. I personally found the writing a bit stilted and odd. And the main character, to me, the biggest issue was that she was very flat. She was very emotionless despite all of the chicanery and shenanigans and malarkey going on, not only around her, but to her. So I just couldn't connect to the story. There are sex scenes in this. I'm rating it an M. It also features a lot of essay on page in here. Whilst this wasn't for me, I would say read this if you like classical music, Brian Johnson, and mandala necklaces. Then we have this behemoth of a book, and it's literally called The Book. And this is by Timur Kadyrov. And I'm going to show you the inside because this book's main jewel are its gorgeous illustrations. I just love the very sort of vintage feel to them. And basically this is just cataloging all of humanity's sort of inventions over our lifetime, over history, all of the things that we have discovered, all the discoveries, and how what we've used, the instruments we've used, the methods we've used to improve and enrich our lives and make them easier. And I guess it's sort of meant to exist as a sort of doomsday how-to. You know, if it all goes to shit, you need to make a new perpetual motion machine. You know how, but you know how very briefly. It's a very short, condensed version of how to do things. So I'm not sure entirely how usable it would be, especially by the everyday layman, because I can tell you right now, even though they tell you how to make penicillin, for instance, I think that I would die before being able to do this. I think I'd just rather die rather than having to do this. My drive for survival is not that strong to go to these efforts. Oh, I would say read this if you like medieval times, human innovation, and massive books. Then we have Model Home by Rivers Solomon. This is sort of what I would call a litfic horror. I'm going to start with one of the opening paragraphs in the book, which I thought was fantastic. Maybe my mother is a god, and that is why nothing I do pleases her. Maybe my mother is a god, and that's why she's never once saved me. I keep praying that this time she will. One day soon, I'll be a failed deity too. My daughter is learning to not believe in me. So this is about black, queer, trans, fat, neurodivergent Esri who is haunted by all the people they know and all the people they are. With their daughter, they have to return to their mostly white gated community to see their sisters after a tragic family event occurs. It asks the question, is their house haunted or are they haunted, or both? The book is quite heavy. It touches on abuse, racism, mental illness, sibling dynamics, motherhood, suicidal ideation, and more. The writing style is very lyrical and haunting, and I appreciated it. The book, however, contains a lot of animal death and child SA. This was not so much a paranormal haunted house, which is why I picked it up and was interested in it, but rather a trauma-filled haunted house. So it's a little misleading in terms of what you think you're getting, and I think it's because mostly I wasn't anticipating what I got, that I didn't enjoy it as much. But I would say read this if you like diversity, pop culture, and dark, heavy childhoods. The next book I picked up is a new release. I was hoping to get it on NetGalley, did not, so it's come out now though, and that is Blob, a Love Story by Maggie Sue. I wouldn't call this a romance. It's a weird litfic. So you have Vi, or Vi, who is a Taiwanese American girl working at the front desk of an inn, trying to get over a breakup, when one day she finds a strange blob creature and decides to take it home. So this is basically Build-A-Bish, but make it Blob the Boyfriend style. Vi has always had trouble making men stay, but maybe this one will stick around. Vi, the character, is also an outsider. Whoa, Sylvie! My bad. Oh, that was my bad, honey. I'm sorry for that throw. That was crazy. As I was saying, V has always been a bit of an outsider, even in her own life. And when she sees Bob the Blob evolve and make a life for himself, she's inspired to maybe make one of her own. I will say that Vi was quite frustrating to read about because she is self-sabotaging, but she does end up undergoing some character growth towards the end. This is PG. There is some kissing and some in there, but no on-page sex scenes. It wasn't the sort of kinky love story I was expecting. It was more about self-love. I still did enjoy it. It's very readable. I read it in one sitting because, once again, I wasn't quite sure where the story was going to go, and it didn't go in the direction I was anticipating, but I still enjoyed it. I would say read it if you like Play-Doh, quitting crappy jobs, and fruity pebbles. The final book that I read for this reading vlog was The Trouble with Peace by Jo Abercrombie, which was the second in a series. I literally read this right on the back of reading the first, A Little Hatred, which was a 5-star read for me. This didn't quite get there, but it was still a very high rating and I did enjoy it overall. But I was correct in guessing that the change in the romance would be something that I would find hard to swallow, and normally I pride myself on my lack of gag reflex, but this time I was struggling to get it down. So this one opens up with King Orso, who probably became my second favorite character, and his council discussing, you know, all of the issues that are going on, and also is quite frustrated with realizing that being a king means a lot of fence sitting. Here's a little brief quote from his meeting. "Your Majesty, we are not here to set right all the world's wrongs. What are we here for then? To ensure that we benefit from them." This one is mostly packed with a lot of civil unrest and political intrigue. I felt this time around we didn't need all of the POVs. Broad, especially, I felt like his was quite superfluous. So he's the sort of, what do you call them? Not right-hand man, but he's Savine's muscle man, you know. He used his fists to get her will done. I hated Leo the lion in this. My God, you absolute himbo and imbecile. Like, obviously he was used as a plot device to enable all the things to occur in this, all the skirmishes and what have you, but oh my God, I was just like, can we let him die on the battlefield, please? That would be preferable. Savine lost a bit of shine for me in this because, yeah, she obviously chose to stand by a person. I don't want to spoil anything. There was a scene which I'm glad happened because I'm like, can we please have this scene so we can air what's happened and both characters can be aware of the reasons, and that did happen, but it still upsets me. It still upsets me. I'll move on. I'm not going to rant. I ranted the last time. Isern is still my favorite character. They are the best. I don't really care for Rika, even though now it sounds like her name might be Ricky because they called her Tricky Ricky, Sticky Ricky, Picky Ricky. And I'm like, is it Ricky or is it Rika? Like, I don't know. I'm just going to call her Ricky now because I had too many words that rhymed with icky in this one. There's also obviously the big question, the big information gap that I'm obviously missing, having not read the series that preluded this. And that is, who is Bias? The wizard, I guess. I think he's a wizard. Everyone keeps talking about how dangerous he is, don't cross him, and how he's actually pulling all the strings. He's basically the, what do you call it? Is it the World Bank or the, I feel like there's a dude with a Greek name and everyone says like they're behind everything. Like the Rothschilds and Soros's or whatever. That's him. Okay, so he's moving everybody like a puppeteer. But you don't see, he's barely in this series thus far. So I'm assuming, like I said, I'm missing a lot of information about that character. So I still enjoyed it, not as much as the first one, unfortunately. I'm still bitter. I hold a grudge. I don't hold a grudge against my own ex who, you know, hurt me, but an author who breaks up my couple that I'm standing, I hold that grudge. So I'm not so forgiving, unfortunately. I will continue on with the next one in the series. If my rating drops again though, I don't know how many books are in the series, actually. Let me look that up. Maybe it is only 3. So the next one in the Age of Madness series is The Wisdom of Crowds. Let's see how many are in this year. Oh no. Oh, it is. It's the final one. The Great Change in Other Lives. Oh no, that's just a collection of short stories, yes. So this is the final one. So we'll see if I can get back up to a 5-star book for me. Doesn't matter. If not, if it's still a 3.5 or up, that is fine. Pretty much that is my aim, to not mood read any books that are lower than a 3.5 stars for me. It doesn't always work out that way. Like I said previously, I'm mostly a plot-based woman, and so the storyline, if it hooks me, I will push through even if I'm not enjoying the writing or the characters or anything else about it. I just want to see how the story ends. So like in this one, that was the case for that one. I wanted to know how it played out. And the same with Model House. I pushed through because I was intrigued to see what the reveals would be, what the finale was. So I'm going to recap all of the books that I read in this vlog, but I'm also going to tack on some blogging stuff to the end of this video. I'm going to go out to a cafe today. I woke up at 2 a.m. thanks to the stock market, and I ended up trading from 2 to 5 a.m. So I'm a bit wrecked. I only got a few hours sleep in total, but that sometimes happens. You know, the market was moving and I needed to be awake and manage my positions. So I will leave that footage at the end. It's going to be a hot day today. And let me tell you about all the books that I read. Let me wait for that aeroplane. The plane! Natural Beauty by Ling Huang. And this wins the award for most bizarre method of insemination. I had to mention it in some way, but I'm not going to give you any other context as to what that is referring to. This book is very bizarre. Then we have The Book by Timur Kadyrov, and this wins the award for making you feel like you know nothing, Jon Snow. Just the process to make soap, like the lie, I would just be a stinky chick, man. Oh, it's so hard not to swear. It's so hard not to use adult words. Can I use the B word to the IT, to the, the C and the H? Does anyone know if that one's allowed or that's considered cussing? I'm guessing it's considered cussing. Model Home by Rivers Solomon. And this wins the award for Not Your Usual Haunted House. Blob, A Love Story by Maggie Sue, wins the award for Best So How Did You Guys Meet? Story. And finally, my favorite read of this reading vlog was The Trouble with Peace by Joe Abercrombie, and this wins the award for gnarliest tattoo session. Those were all the books that I read this week. Until next time, hopefully I'm still here. Stay wild, star child.